Hello folks, just back in the workshop. Thought I'd discuss a few things really. First off is on the two new rifles that's just come out, top end rifles as well. One from Daystate and one from FX. And I think FX timed this to come out at the same time as the Delta Wolf, which I'm going to talk about first. It will go down as one of the most advanced rifles ever built because of the electronics within it. I mean, Daystate's been involved in electronic rifles now for probably getting on for 15-20 years, and as they've gone on, they've learned from the different rifles they've had. The original software developer, former RAF chap, he was a software developer for the Mark IVs and rifles going on from then, but sadly he passed away about a year to 18 months ago, so Daystate had to find some new software developers. Like the Delta Wolf, that's been in development for several years now. It's just gone out into production. Initial feedback is pretty good. These kind of rifles are developed for the worldwide market, especially the US, where there's no power restrictions. So you will find on both the Delta Wolf and the FX rifles, the rifles will vary, as do other rifles out there in the manufacturing industry, between a full power rifle and one designed for sub 12 foot-pounds like ourselves. I mean, you get places like Germany, and they can only have a 6 foot-pound rifle, which is ridiculous. But that's part of being in Europe, I suppose. But yeah, I mean, with the new Delta Wolf, it has got a mechanical regulator in it, believe it or not, and that's just to take the edge off of the air cylinder. And basically that'll be set to a specific setting depending on the power, and then you've got the rifles now have got the built-in chronograph, and that is all built in and connected to the software. So what happens, you'll tune your rifle up, you'll tell it what kind of power you want, and you'll fire your shot. The initial shot might be not what you put in it, but once it's recorded that shot, it will then adjust it for the next shot. Really advanced in a way. Basically it's a really fast lock time because you're not mechanically pulling the trigger. It's not releasing a sear on the hammer that then shoots forward under the tension of a spring, which can create a bit of recoil in itself, and not a lot, but that action alone takes time. So basically all it's doing, you've got an electronic switch, it's operating a solenoid that opens the valve, and that's basically how it works. The valve, the solenoid talks with the software, where the chronograph's been telling it what power it's at, and it sorts itself out that way. Yeah, the reason behind the regulator is similar reason to what others, well, what FX is doing now with the double reg. All it's doing, it's taking the pressure off of the main cylinder, which makes it easier then for the valve below it to adjust what pressure is left. So instead of dealing with 480 cc of bar compressed air or whatever it's set to, it's now only dealing with a small amount of pressure, so it's a lot easier to deal with. So that is your Delta Wolf. Comes with interchangeable barrels. Not cheap, because each one is you've got to think, you've got the barrel, you've got the fill probe, you've then got the shroud, and you've also got the chronograph. So I think the barrels and the complete setup's probably around £750, which is quite a lot of money. But yeah, that's all part of the high-end, top-end rifles now. So you've got 177, 22, 25 and 30 caliber. So add all that up. If you wanted all the barrels, it does work out a lot of money, but for someone that's spending over £2.5 for a rifle, I don't think they're going to be bothered about paying a bit more for extra barrels. So that is a Delta Wolf. So far, been a few teething problems like you do with any new rifle, but on the whole, been doing pretty good. The Maverick. Now, the Maverick, that is the next generation of FX rifles done by Frederick Axelson, as we all know. I've always been a big fan of Frederick Axelson. I mean, the man's a marvel, really, when you think about what he's designed and how quick he gets them done. He's got a massive following, as with all the FX rifles. Now, the difference between the Impact and the new Maverick that's coming out is the price is a bit cheaper, and the rifle falls in between the Impact and the Wildcat. So I would imagine the block is more similar to the Wildcat, but the main difference here is that the Maverick has two regulators. It'll have one regulator to take so much off that big air tank, so I don't know what that's set at, but if it's got a 300 bar fill, they could be down to say 200 bar on the first reg, and then the second regulator that takes that 200 bar and then puts it down to where it needs to be, so it's only handling a certain amount of pressure. So in the US market, it's probably only got to drop that pressure by 50 bar to get it down to 150 if you're shooting a high power rifle, or in the UK lower than that. There are differences again between the US market and the British market because of our powers. So on both the Maverick and the Delta Wolf UK versions, you won't have the same range of adaptability as you would with a fully capable rifle. But looking at both rifles look fantastic. Only time will tell, but I'm sure any of the rifles that's got niggles with them now, as with all rifles, within 6 months to a year, most of the faults that do start occurring then get ironed out. When the Mark II comes out, there's no problems again. But you can expect this with any manufacturer. They're not car manufacturers that's got billions of pounds invested into research and development. They're small companies, if you think about it. Even though they sell a lot of rifles to the market, it's nothing like selling cars. So basically, they do the best they can at the factories, and some of these are in development for 3 or 4 years. They're tested for accuracy, and they're tested to see if they get any faults. But at the end of the day, until you get mass amounts of rifles going out and then problems coming in, you will not know what you've got. I mean, it's fair enough testing accuracy through a barrel, but you're talking about the whole rifle that might have niggles with it. And talking about niggly rifles, I've got one in front of me now. So that's just a bit of an update on the new top-end rifles from Daystate and FX. What I've got in front of me now is from a new manufacturer called Retay. In the US market, they've got the exact same thing, and that's going under the name of Pissed Off. And I've been really pissed off with this rifle since I've had it. Right, don't worry me too much. because I bought this rifle because I liked it, and I bought this rifle because, well, if it's got a problem I'll sort the damn thing, because that's what I like doing. I like tinkering. But as it comes, I would say it's not worth the money that they're selling it for. Now, I did say that the top end rifles can get problems, but Christ, I hope they don't get the same problems as this one does, and I'm sure they won't. This has got problems in a few areas, but it's problems in a few areas that they could have sorted out. And the reason I say that is just a bit of forethought would have helped a lot. Now, I'll start off with the biggest problem I had to start off with, and that was with the barrel. And that, folks, is the barrel. Now, why on earth would you make a barrel this size for a rifle? I've got a Crossman 7.66 pistol, and the barrel on that is an inch shorter than this. So instead of sodding around using a little barrel like this, and then more cocking around to put inserts in to make the length up, because basically look where the end of the shroud comes to. All that room there, they could have added another 8 inches and made a proper barrel. Now, I've been lucky that down at the club, Cliff Kirkman, he's got a lathe and he's a good engineer, and he sorted this one out for me. It's put a new insert in this because it did come with a metal insert that was threaded onto the barrel. It came out to there. It didn't even have an attachment for a silencer. It was just finished basically and held the shroud in place. So that was threaded on here as a hollow tube. You couldn't baffle it. So what Cliff did start off with, he tried threading the end of it, but then found out there was problems here, so we get an accuracy problem. So thanks to Cliff, did a complete insert, another insert. The barrel, it had a damaged crown on it. Now on earth it got a damaged crown on it, I don't know, but that's what the accuracy problems were. So he recrowned that, he did the insert for this, and then he did it so it goes in and it screws onto the new insert. And then what he did then, on the end of that, he threaded it through 1/2 inch UNF, so I can actually shoot it now with the silencer. So accuracy problems now have tightened up quite a lot, but we've still only got an 11-inch barrel. So what I do intend doing later on next year, I can't afford it now, wrong time of year, I will get a Walther Loafer barrel for it, and I'll probably get a polygon barrel, because I know they've been doing well on some of the testing we've been doing down at the range with the Daystate barrels. In fact, the ARC barrel, that's a polygon barrel, and they shoot really well, they shoot slugs well as well. So that is the barrel problem. Stupid problem to get, and if they'd have put a proper barrel on there and threaded the barrel, there wouldn't have been a problem in the first place. So Retay, pissed off if you're watching. I'm that pissed off with you for not doing that in the first place. It's going to cost me 123 for a new barrel. Right, the other problem I've had is with the magazines. These have been total crap. I've got 2 magazines now and they're both useless. If you take it apart, you'll see a little notch sticking up there. Well, I don't know what's a pellet guide or not, but it's so close to the centre of the hole where the pellet goes in. On the other magazine, it was in the way of the pellet. So when you came up to putting in your number 11 pellet, your 11th pellet to load, it wouldn't fit because that was sticking out a bit. I tried shoving it back and the thing snapped off. So what I then did, I drilled out an hole where the rod did go, and using the drill bit, which I think it was a 1mm bit, I then cut that off and glued it into place, which worked fine. Now there is an adjustment on these, because to put the tension on, there's another little rod that is snapped off on this one now, believe it or not. So this is crap. And there's a little screw in the bottom. Well, it's basically a threaded rod on the end of a screw bit, and you screw that in and that comes up, and when the magazine is cycled all the way around, that's the stopper, then it'll come back. If you take the magazine apart, what you need to do is unscrew that to take the tension off where the stopper is. Put your magazine on, twist it around to put the tension on, screw that back in, and that stops it going all the way around again. 180 it stops it, 360 it stops it where it needs to be, but under the tension it snapped that nut clear off. So that's some knick-knack, that is. So that's just broke under the stress of, I didn't even touch that one, that was under the stress of loading the magazine and just firing it a few times. So I might get them to send me a new one of those back. The other one I can't do because I've drilled it myself, but long term they need to rethink the magazine, or need to get somebody with a 3D printer that can design a new magazine for it. But that is it with the rifle. The barrel's a problem, and on this one anyway, and the magazines are. And the reason I'm talking Pissed Off now, what a great name, Pissed Off, is because if you go on YouTube and type in Pissed Off, there's a few of the rifles in America, and they're exactly like this. It's the same, they're the same rifles under a different name. There's one particular chap out there, I think it's some Mountain Air Guns or something. He's got his own shooting rifle dealership, and he's got one in on test, thinking about buying them, and he's got exactly the same problems I've got. But he's put on a new barrel, and it seems to be doing the job now. Now, these are regulated. This has got a regulator in it. I wouldn't have known, to be honest. I wouldn't have known at all. This is a regulator. Looks like a bloody oil drum. I can't see any hole in the centre for it to bleed air, or breathe, as you should say. It's got a gasket on both ends, but no hole in it to breathe, unless it's breathing through the bottom end, but I don't see how it could. So that's the regulator. It's massive. And look at that. What we've got here is basically the plenum. That's just a piece of metal. It's got a thread on it as well, so I don't know what that's off. It looks more like something off the end of an air tube or something. That goes over the actual spring washers. And like a chap said on the YouTube channel, the American chap, he says he thinks all that is for is to stop it banging into the end of the valve. And that's the valve. But yeah, that is the regulator. I don't even know what pressure it's set at, but I think I will find out, because is it on this one? Where is it at? It's on here. Yeah, on here. I think it's a 5mm bolt. This is at the end of the cylinder block. You've got that. Inside there, you can see that's a breather hole, and I do believe that is for a manometer. So why didn't they put a manometer in so you could see what the pressure was? just don't make sense. They've not really thought this out. I know they're a shotgun manufacturer, but Christ, if you're going to do something with air rifles, do some research and development. Now the springs on these, they're basically like dishes, and they're like that, and the spring tension's like that. So the only way I can think of doing adjustment on this is to tighten or loosen that rear nut to put less tension on the springs. I've ordered a new manometer to screw into that, and when I put air in it, I'll see what the regulator's currently set at. I've got a feeling it's set to high. It's probably set to the US standards, which is no good. It needs to be low. I would say on this rifle it needs to be set between 70 and 90 bar, like I've done on my Krells. That'd be ideal. Now this is the valve. Now I'm not sure. This does come off. I'm not sure if it screws off. There is a little screw in the back. Maybe you take that out and it comes out, but I'll do that eventually. I'll get the valve off. So what I could do then is put a bit of pressure behind the tension on the valve spring, make it harder to open, because the problem I've been getting, it's designed to fill to 200 bar, so you'll fill it to 200 bar, and because there's so much pressure in the tube, you might start off at say 6 foot-pounds. So by the time you get to 150 bar, which is basically the flat part of it, it's doing what it should be, 11.5 foot-pound at 150 bar. Now the way around that would be for the regulator to be set to 150 bar or less. It's obviously a set more than that, because higher up it's not coping with that extra pressure. So I've got a feeling it's set too high anyway. So I might slacken that off, but I'll find out what it's pushing out anyway. Because the main thing with a mechanical air rifle is balancing out the valve and the regulator, so you get a shot string right across the fill of the rifle. This kind of thing, they could stick me in the bloody factory and I could sort that out. So why on earth are they putting them out like this? It's total bullshit. It really is. So you can see what I've got on my hands. I'm pissed off that it weren't done correctly in the first place, but for me it's just another project, and when I do sort it out, and I will sort it out, I'll then update everybody on how I did it. But if Pushed Off and Retay want to sell these rifles, they certainly need to sort out the problem. So you can see I've stripped it right down. I've not took out the hammer. I'm not. Well, I think I've shown you what it looks like behind there. Basically, all the trigger mechanism is there. Trigger's fine. Cocking action's fine on it. So that's one good thing. You don't need to mess with that. The only downside is you might have a bar that's not shooting how it should. I mean, I was probably unlucky. The fact that this had a damaged crown on it. There was I think with the internals as well, Cliff did come to the assumption that it was probably pushing the thing out of line as well. And another thing, top of the block, there's 2 grub screw holes there to attach the barrel. It seems like every Retay rifle and every Pushed Off rifle they send out only has 1 grub screw in it. I mean, what on earth are they thinking of? So 3mm Allen key grub for the grub screws. So if you have got one, you need to buy yourself a new grub screw. Looking at the rear of this, 3mm again. The one at the rear, directly below that, just shine a light down. it goes down where the transfer port is, and that transfer port is big enough for FAC rifles. It's fully open. Not a problem. You can easily sort that out by the valve or the reg. Barrel. I mean, the blocks are already designed that way. The barrel, that's not as big, so that's the difference here. You've probably got a 4mm transfer port hole. The barrel is 3mm, so that transfer port could even be 5 actually. So if you go through a Robert Lane tune, 3mm 177, that's probably big enough anyway. You don't need to go any bigger. But we definitely need to balance out the valve. May need to get a new regulator made because I'm not happy with this at all. Nah, I think it's designed to breathe because there's only one O-ring on this. There's no O-ring on the first part of the thread, but there is one right at the back. I've got a feeling that it would be allowed to breathe if you took the O-ring off. But it's something I've got to look into. I'll either have a word with Robert Lane, see what he thinks, or I know it was at Hoomer, they do regulators to fit any rifle. You just send them the diameter you want and they'll make one up for you. But I'll see how this does, see if it's working okay. If it's not, I'll get a new regulator made. More money. So really, if they'd spent 200 quid more and got a decent barrel and a decent reg, they'd probably come out with a decent rifle. It looks like I've got to do that now. Yeah. Well, if you look at that, the actual it's a bit too long for that, and that's what this is for. What a bad way of doing it. I've not got a clue on how to do regulators either, looking at this. Not the plenum spaces. So, when these problems do get sorted out, and they will get sorted out unless the companies go bust, and if this is anything to go by, they won't be around because nobody will want to buy them anyway. But they need to sort their act out, and they need to get the rifles made up properly. So that is it for the time being. Just another update on the Retay T20, and I'll have a good Christmas and a New Year. Let's hope next year's a lot better than this one, and let's hope things soon sort themselves out. But to be honest, they've issued out 250 inoculations so far, which need a follow-up. So if you multiply that by 60-70 million people, how long is it going to take? We could be like this for the next 3 years at this rate. But let's hope they get the military involved to start upping the doses of all the inoculations they're going to be doing, because doctors and hospitals are full enough and busy enough as it is. So that's it for now, and I'll see you soon.